Book stacks. I've seen them. I love them. I want one. Hi, I'm Linda from Remade with Love, and I'll walk you through today creating your own book stack. First, you'll need to choose books, usually 3, and it's based on the size and height of your pre-made stencil, or you can create your own stencil, and I'll link you to my video on how to do that at the end. I chose hardcover books just over 2 inches thick. Hardcovers won't warp, and honestly I wanted to see how the paint would cover over the pressed images on 2 of the books and how it would look on the 3rd cloth-covered book. I'm using Amy Howard's Ballet Slippers chalk paint. It's a creamy neutral with slightly warm tint. This is my go-to paint. No VOCs, all natural, and it can be used on so many surfaces. Start by painting the cover of your book. Place your book over a small paint or large soap can and completely cover the outside cover. I used a 3-inch microfiber roller. I used this on large plain furniture with no detailing on it. It's really great for applying an even coat of the paint, and this paint is a self-settling paint. So once you get it on there and you don't want any lines, this is my go-to for many things. Don't forget to cover your edges. I lift up the corners of the book, the edges of the book, and cover it, and also have an artist flat brush on hand to take care of those grooves that are near the spine. You want to make sure those are colored in and there isn't any line of demarcation. You want it to really flow well. I use a number 12. This old cloth book was my favorite, is my favorite. It's got texture, it's got old world charm, it won me over. But it also was the thirstiest book. It took 3 coats of paint to cover, while the other 2 took only 2 coats of paint. You need to, after applying 1 coat, let each book dry. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes before you add another layer of paint. Like I said, this one took 3 coats, so it was about an hour to do this, a little more. And the other 2 just took 40 minutes. Now you may want, once this dries, you may want it to be this crisp, clear, almost white look, or if you choose a color of paint that is white, have that bright look. I kind of want to have that old world lived in, not really old and funky like it's going to be smelling, but just a fresh book. And part of this was, after it dried, I noticed the pages. They were really yellowed and they had kind of a dingy smell. So I went ahead and took my flat artist brush and painted in all the little edges and then over the pages. I'm not going to read this book again. It's just purely going to be used for decoration for my home. So I covered everything. Remember, this doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to put some finishing touches on here, but we do want it to be refreshed and smell good. This paint has essential oils infused into it, and it smells like vanilla. So a lot better than an old book. Then after that final coat, or the pages that you do, let it dry for 20 minutes again. And now you're going to finalize your stencil placement. You've chosen your stencils, you're deciding which to put where, and I always justify mine to the right. We stack and the words just seem to flow and read better that way. I'm going to be using mesh stencils, and again, these are Amy Howard stencils that she has. You can use any stencil that you like. Mesh stencils, though, I really prefer over just the hard ones that sit on top that you have to hold, for a couple different reasons. You can see that I'm pushing it down on the spine with the cloth when it takes a little more pressure than the others. And I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can apply the paint. the old-fashioned way. You saw the brush that was intended for stencils. You load it up, offload a little so that you don't have a big gloppy paintbrush, and then you're going to go ahead and pounce, going straight up and down on top of the letters. Now, because the mesh stencil is clinging to the book, I don't have to juggle these two things, and really I don't even have to pounce, because with a mesh stencil you want to press that paint, and this is a Maker Studio chalk art paint, through the mesh by using, this is a chalk spreader, and pushing down and dragging across. It's not going to bleed through underneath. It's all held on by adhesive. So you're doing this, putting one coat on, a little goes a long way. Or you can pounce. I'd rather do this. It's less effort, more accurate. I don't have to worry about bleed through, and you'll see even with this finely detailed stencil, the words are going to come out beautiful. Oh, remember to, once you're done with your stencil, immediately put it into a bath of water. If you don't get this into liquid, it's going to dry and you won't be able to use this again. And stencils are so great, these mesh ones, because you can reuse them over and over again. I am a counselor at school, and I have used one stencil 23 or 25 times to create graduation cards for some students. And the adhesion is still there. Doesn't hurt anything. I can stencil on paper. It's that gentle. But using it on the book, you can apply all the pressure you want. It's not going to hurt the paint that's on there. So you push it through, pull it off, and into the water bath until you can clean. I suggest you use black, brown, or dark gray. Look at that. Love it. To apply to the stencil. Depending on what you're going for as a look, choose your colors. If you don't like it, paint over it, do it again. Now, what I did discover is this was not the best medium to use. I use the chalk art because I've done it on chalkboards or other things, but really it's intended to be washed away. So it is a water-based product, and if you get it wet with any water-based product, it's going to run. So I will suggest another product in just a minute, but beautiful. Love how it looks. Look at how that looks. It's beautiful. I love the script. I love the way they turned out. So here's what happened. I applied matte sealer, which is a water-based sealer, onto my book. And as I was going over the words, I noticed a little was coming off on my roller, and then it would get on the book in other areas. So it kind of starts to look smudgy. And that's because it's been reactivated. It was dried and now it's been reactivated. Not a whole lot. It's not terrible. And actually, I decided not to paint over that because I was going to finish this not only with matte sealer, I was probably going to finish it with my waxes, that it was going to be okay. So again, everywhere that I've painted, I'm going to go ahead and seal. And you can do this with the matte sealer. It dries to a completely matte base, or you can do it with waxes. And you see I've got a light antique wax and a dark antique wax there, and I'll show you. Oh, you can see the smudging. Oh, and some of my fingerprints on there because I had touched that. No fear, I'm going to fix it. I never throw in the towel. We'll find a way to make it work. Okay, so then I took the old cloth book, and instead of just matte sealing, I'm going to use light antique wax and dark antique wax. Now, if you've never used puck waxes, you've got to be super careful. You're going to put a coat of light on. I've already done that here, and I'm going to demonstrate what to do with the dark wax. So once the light wax is on lightly and it has come to tack, meaning it's dried about 20 to 30 minutes, I take my dark and load it up on my bristle brush, my chippy brush, offload it, and then lightly just kind of kiss the edges, the spine, the edges, where you think it would wear if someone had had this around for 75 years, 100 years. I want it to have that look. Now, you don't have to age your books. You can stop with a sealer or just plain if that's what you want. But I wanted that lightly aged look. I just think it brings a charm and a grace. So even on the book edges that you probably won't see, I'm going to go ahead and add that. Now, this is different than what a lot of other people do. A lot of people take sandpaper to their book, sandpaper to their furniture to age. But this is really old world how you do it. You add wax, and sometimes a product called Dust of Ages, you do not sand. So how does that look? Beautiful! I love it. And I finished the other two books this way too. So there you have it. How to make a stack of books. I definitely do this again. And what I do differently though is use the gel art ink, that's the other product, in black, so that it won't smudge when sealed. Here's the link that I promised you at the beginning on how to create your own stencil. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Remade with Love on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks, guys.